Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Spotlight on CS Ops. I'm here with my wonderful co-host, Matthew Lind, over in Austin, Texas. Hi, Matthew.
Hello, John. Great to see you.
Great to see you again. And we're here today with two wonderful people from Juniper Networks. We have Sam Morris and Jackie Mullen. Welcome both to the show here today.
Hi, thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks.
And in the way of introduction, so I just mentioned you guys both currently work at Juniper Networks, but I know a few things about you two. I know that, you're both in Canada. Sam, you're, relatively down the street from where I live. So super close, but this is actually our first time meeting. And Jackie, I've known you now for a while. We were previously worked together at ValueWise, and you were previously also at Alita or Vision Critical at the time. But you've also worked with some other great companies. Maybe just in the way of our start here, Jackie, do you want to give us a bit about your journey and sort of where you come from and how you got started in CS Ops?
Definitely. Thanks, John. And it definitely has been a journey. And I think I fell into it by accident, as most people in CS Ops do. I started my career at Vision Critical, now Alita, and I was a customer success manager there, progressed there, and then was ready for a new challenge and was hired by a startup that was acquired by a larger company to build out their customer success program. Realized quickly that in order to do that, I needed to think scale because we had many customers and we were trying to figure out how to get information to them for some low cost solutions that they had purchased in regards to communications, and ended up hiring a small team. And we began managing a customer success platform, Gainsight, in order to get the word out there and help them adopt their solutions and renew. After my time there, I met you, Jean, and then was hired at ValueWise. And it was because of my experience working with the customer success tool, Gainsight, that I was able to have those conversations with you. And actually, I made a move from the US, because I was in the US at the time at Avaya, back to Vancouver, was with ValueWise for about a year. And because of all the learnings at ValueWise, learning from the likes of you and all the ins and outs of scaling and CS operations, I was hired in my current role at Juniper Networks to help them build out a strategy and operations program for customer success, which is really new to Juniper. What ended up happening is initially we were focused on some larger programs, but we quickly learned that it's all about scale, it's all about enterprise, and we needed to start designing workflows to help enterprise customers adopt their solutions, realize the value of solutions, renew and grow. And so we've done that all by building out a customer success operations team and leveraging now a new platform to me, Totango.
So cool. And how about yourself, Sam? How did you connect with Jackie, or what's your journey and how did you join the Juniper Networks team?
Well, I was very lucky to be connecting with Jackie and the people like yourselves. So yeah, grateful to chat today. But I feel very, very new into customer success and it's particularly CS Ops as well. My background coming straight out of university was in sports apparel, worked for a couple of big names like Under Armour and Herschel Supply, a Vancouver based company, and ended up landing they're all CS jobs, customer service jobs, mostly for kind of B2B business sales. And I transitioned kind of after a few years to a healthcare organization, which was very different, but it was selling insurance. So kind of the same thing, just a slight change, I guess. And I'd never really had much focus on the actual operational side of things, as customer service, as we know, is just kind of do whatever we need to do to make it right for the person on the other end of the phone. So moving into the healthcare organization, I realized that there was they were very old and they needed there was a lot of paper flying around and they needed to make some changes. And being very organized as we tend to be in CS ops, I definitely felt that I was not organized and wanted to change things for myself selfishly so I could do my job better, and started developing processes, got really interested in Six Sigma, and all the things that go around operationalizing things there. And yeah, that really kind of sparked something in me that I was looking for a big change, and landed at a SaaS organization, Office Space Software, who were going through a phenomenal change due to the pandemic. They're I don't want to belittle what they do, but it's a desk booking software primarily, and a real estate planning software, which, as people were vacating offices and then slowly returning to the office, and health and safety and those things were paramount, they had a huge boom when I joined during the pandemic. So there was a lot going on. Relatively small customer base, but big enough to be dangerous. And yeah, I started learning all things customer success. And at that point, when I made the switch over, I was definitely exploring kind of what my career would be, what my future would look like. And I discovered customer success, this random word that I'd never even heard of before, but had some sort of adjacent skills. And all of a sudden it opened up a whole world to me. So yeah, moved into Juniper in the last 9 months or so. Juniper is obviously a much bigger company than I was used to working at. So the way that the processes work and just all the communications at scale, as Jackie's mentioned, were brand new to me, and just really exciting. I think there's a lot of opportunity that in our day-to-day at Juniper to make a difference, make a really big difference. And that's something that I'm really excited about day-to-day, that keeps me coming back, and just learning from Jackie and all others leaders in the space on CS Ops. We just figure out what we can do with this big machine that I'm now part of.
There is so much that we get to do or can do in the CS ops space, and it seems like the more people we talk to, the more I find or we learn about people who are specializing or doing something that's even niche inside of CS ops. So tell us, for each of you, maybe Sam, we'll start with you. We'll let you go first this time. Of like, what's your more specific role inside of CS ops? Like, what do you specialize in, and how does that contribute to sort of the health and impact at Juniper?
Yeah, well, Juniper's focus is definitely on scaled motions. I When I was at Office Space, I was used to kind of being as we are in ops, kind of CS for the CS team, as it was described to me when I first joined. I was definitely kind of focusing on making sure that the CSMs were doing their jobs. And although there is an aspect of that at Juniper, main focus has been last year, particularly around building out those scaled motions. So I help define and build out those use cases and work with our subject matter experts to make those things a reality as they come to us and say, hey, we need to reach this group of individuals. We want to target them with this particular messaging. And then Jackie, myself, and the rest of the team come together to figure out what that looks like, leverage other use cases and different experiences that we have from other messaging, and driving those messages forwards.
Amazing. I mean, that's so outstanding. Like, kind of, I hear sort of experimentation and trial and error, and then figuring out, okay, how do we take the things that succeed and do them more often?
Yeah, rinse and repeat is something that we definitely try to do, but iterates. It's something Juniper is really proud of, and Jackie leads the charge on that with our team. It's what did we do? How do we learn from it? And what can we do differently next time?
Yeah. Jackie, what's your area of specialty or your areas of contribution at Juniper?
Well, I am officially the product owner of Totango at Juniper, and in non-technical terms, I guess that means figuring out our roadmap. And as Sam alluded to, last year we really shifted strategy and went all in on the scaled motion using email campaigns, that functionality of Totango. And we initially were really experimenting. We had different businesses or different orgs submit use case ideas for business problems that they wanted to help solve and in order to reach those customers. And what we ended up doing is we figured out what worked, what didn't, and now have a roadmap for 2024 of where we want to go, what topics we want to focus on, and how to measure all of these various topics, because that's something that we've introduced for the team to measure the results of every single campaign or every single workflow that we put out there, so that we can identify if something isn't working, if something isn't landing with customers or partners, we can then improve, shift a bit, and make sure that we are reaching those business outcomes that we're trying to address and drive.
That's amazing. And like, so Juniper is a fairly large company, right? In terms of, just to give this some perspective here, like how many end users would you guys have in Totango, and like how many people are you reaching out to roughly? Like how large is the audience and that you guys are working with?
And so we have a very large customer base, as you alluded to, Jean. And so hundreds of thousands of customer accounts. However, what we found works best is when we target the use cases. And so we break down the problem, and we often launch with a pilot where we are targeting a specific segment of the larger customer base to see if something will land with them with the emails. And then once we have proven that motion does result in success, then we start to build it out. Juniper also is different in that our services are attached, and so we don't have typical CSMs. It is a paid offering that customers purchase. And so we do have workflows and users in Totango for these services. They're called their service manager individual. And so we have those in Totango as well, and roll out workflows for them too.
And so in your role, then you would serve not like, so you're figuring out the audiences and the reach out, but you also serve those end users that are using the tool internally. And
exactly.
Are you guys, how do you organize your CS ops team? Like, I'm sure it's not just you two. I'm sure there's more of you, I would expect then, given you're such a large company and whatnot. But how does that look like at a large enterprise like Juniper?
It's all about prioritization. And so in addition to us, we have a platform admin who comes from Totango, and he is quite senior. So we throw at him a lot of the big config problems as well as the data problems. But we're also supported by a larger customer success strategy team. And so they help with the individual use cases as well. Sam leads many of the use cases that we end up launching, and so he is the lead of those use cases. And then we, based on our long list of items in our roadmap, we prioritize and assign out, and then manage via Jira, daily stand-ups. We have a PM. All of the usual structure that you taught me, Jean, at my time in ValueWise, we've implemented. So
that's great to hear. Yeah, so it sounds like a completely agile environment. You guys are leveraging Jira to drive the ticketing and whatnot. So that's super cool.
There's during the day we do many things. It seems very cliche to say, oh, you have to wear many hats, and no 2 days are the same. My days are the same. They start with a stand-up meeting with Jackie and the rest of the team, so there is some familiarity there. But yeah, we pivot quite a lot depending on what our priorities are. And I think using tools like Jira and just organizing at times as we try to stay as organized as best as possible, it does help us. Helps us and helps the business too.
If you could write a letter to yourself from the past to the future, or maybe future from the past. I don't know. I probably would have just botched this question, but if there's something you wish you had known, and Sam, maybe you, since you're newer in CS ops, like what do you wish you had known on day one that became very apparent as you ventured into this space?
I thought about this a lot. Yeah, I do like Back to the Future. They're my favorite film, so I'm always thinking about things like this. I think ego aside, just having a growth mindset is such a huge thing. Coming into any space thinking that you know everything is definitely not the right approach. Just remaining as agile as possible and having an open mind, questioning things is something that I wish I had done sooner, not just in my start in customer success, but my working career, even going as far back as rugby coaches telling me certain things and saying, yeah, I can do that. And then walking to the pitch thinking, what have I just agreed to? I don't know these things they're telling me. So yeah, definitely having an open mind is something that is critical. And for CS ops, because there's no blueprint, there's no, as much as I've said, there's structure to the day and there's things we can implement. There's definitely no blueprint for success. There's tools we can use and approaches we can take and processes we can put in place that we know bring results and add value for whoever that may be. But I think just keeping an open mind and thinking, what could we possibly do differently? What could we change? That's something that I wish I'd had sooner, definitely, because it's something that at Juniper, everyone wants to do that. Everyone is thinking, well, what's if we fail, how do we iterate? It's not kind of let's talk about the failure. They talk about what do we do about it, and that's something that an approach I wish I'd taken a lot sooner in my career.
So it's really encouraging in a way to you're able to just say, yeah, there's a lot we've learned, and there's a lot we're going to keep learning.
It's so encouraging. Yeah, I mean, we're all human, right? We make mistakes, and I think that's something that it can get lost when there's dollars at stake, and not a Juniper issue. So I think it's just a corporation issue. People are always kind of looking. It's a business, and they want to make the business run and make things happen. But there's no cost to kind of making someone's day worse. Just if they're having a bad day, you don't want to make it worse for them. You just want to, hey, let's move on. Let's figure out what we do and go forward from there.
Yeah. Jackie, how about you? You can write a letter from one direction or the other. What do you wish you had known then that you've learned now?
I think it would be that adaptability is my biggest strength and what you need to lean into, especially in today's changing world. Every day there's a new technology, and that's what drew me to, I think, CS Ops originally, because it's about learning enough to be dangerous about various topics of the business and then building from there. Whether it's, building processes, building out config for the tool, building reporting. And so I think that there is that realization. If I look back to when I was a high school student, my job didn't exist. Went back when I was a high school student, right? All of this is new. This is all, I first was introduced to a CS platform in 2016. And that was, we felt like one of the first movers in the industry to get a CS platform. And so that's always going into each day, being curious, trying to learn from others, learn about a new process within the org, how it can be improved. That's really what's been important in my short, but still meaningful CS Ops career so far.
That's so true. Like even the word CS or customer success platform seems like only a year or two old. Like, we used to talk about, these tools and never knew what the category was called. And so it's so new. It's so brand new. So I'm going to take Matthew's lead, and he took you to the past, but I'm going to maybe drop you a little bit forward here, and we'll jump into our time machine a little bit. But any predictions for the future or things that you guys are thinking about that you guys are looking to get ahead on, or thinking where, where CS ops might lead for you guys in your careers?
Well, I can take that. I think that it's all about data and process improvement right now for the foreseeable future for Juniper. And when I say data, I don't just mean our data that we have on the company and our customers, but the data that we can give our customers. So whether that's all via cloud connectivity. So making sure that you have your entire networks connected to the cloud. I know I'm saying this in front of some SaaS leaders, so that doesn't seem groundbreaking, but to people do not have all of their networks connected to the cloud, do not have that intelligence. And so that's where I foresee networking continuing to move in the future, and where we can make the difference as a CS team to move the needle, to give customers that information and that power by introducing them to tools to do so. And that's, ultimately what our team's really focused on for the future.
I'll leverage that a little bit because Jackie's hit the nail on the head, especially at Juniper. It's something we're focusing on for sure. I feel that there's a certain amount of, especially when it comes to scaled motions, there's a certain amount of balancing what you want to get out there versus what people actually want to hear. There's obviously corporate messaging that we want to send out because we know something's important. I'm thinking like a end of support time frame, right? We want to give people notice. We want to tell them that something's coming up and it's a really important thing. So here's what you need to do. But meeting them where they're at to understand what's pivotal for them, whether it's the messaging itself or is it a session that can be put on to have people engage, ask their questions. Is there a real specific focus around end of support that we know people are struggling with? We've had feedback. We're actioning on that to say, you told us that you really want a session that talks about this. So here you go. Here's 4 of them. They're at different time zones. You can come to whatever you want. I feel more catered campaigns moving forward are going to be pivotal in this space. I think there might be people listening to this that think, well, of course, that's the foundations of any scaled motion, but I don't think it's necessarily obvious for a lot of folks, because you start by thinking, well, we want to get this out because this is what we think is right, but you don't know if it's right. Like, you need to speak to your customers, you need to understand where they're at and what they want, and give them what they need. I think that makes everyone succeed then.
That's so true though. Like digital campaigns, like just because it's digital doesn't mean that you don't get to talk to that you shouldn't talk to your customers. Like what you just described, like, yeah, it's digital, but still talk to your customers and find out if your digital is actually effective and driving the right outcomes. So such a true statement.
Mm-hmm. One of the most successful campaigns in terms of our like leading metrics on open rates and things like that was based around some usage data that we knew people were doing particular things within the platform, and we said, hey, you on the theme of cloud connectivity, we understand that you could probably get some more devices connected, so here's someone you can speak to who can give you everything that you need. It's not a document that you just spend half an hour with them and they can help you. And the open rates on that email were kind of one of the best, because we led with, do you want someone to help you with this? That was the subject line in not as many terms, and people were opening it because that's what they wanted.
That's a great success story. And I think it's so emblematic of a lot of what customer success can and should be doing, which is like, hey, we're here to coach you. We're here to offer our input. And, we have some ideas for you. This might, would you like A, B, or C? And someone says, yeah, B and C would be great. Call me up. So well done, Sam. Well done.
It's a team effort. There's so many people involved. And yeah, you make a real good point about just one of the challenges I've seen at Juniper, which is a personal challenge for me and a team, is doing all those things at scale. How do we do that for hundreds of thousands of customers? Because it's really great to send them out a booking link for someone, but if 10 people in each customer account want to take up that meeting, then there's not going to be enough hours in the
Yeah,
day.
suddenly you've created a monster.
Yeah, it's much better to target that at the people we know want to do the things. And yeah, figuring out how we scale it is definitely something we're trying to do.
You've hit on something that's interesting to me, and I think Jackie, you said at one point we're talking about hundreds of thousands of customers at Juniper. So correct me if I got that wrong, but I mean, there's scale, and then there's scale like that, and there's scale of like, oh, how do I get from managing 50 customers to 150 customers to 1,500? But when you start reaching 6 or 7 figures, that is a whole new size of scale, or an entirely new scale of scale. How do you tackle something like that, or how do you even think about it in ways that are helpful and make sense?
The answer is partners. Partners were the original scale tool. And ultimately, when I say we have hundreds of thousands of customers, as you said that correctly, what I'm saying is there are hundreds of thousands of customers that have purchased solutions from Juniper, but they might be managed via a partner. And so whenever we think about a use case or a new campaign, we always have to think about it via the partner lens, because initially we might launch something to test out direct to customers or have that control group of customers we can manage when we get feedback in. But every iteration of an evolution of the campaign ultimately expands to partners too. And we've talked about an end of support campaign a few times, but that really hit home, that campaign, the importance of partners, because the direct customers who were running old software was minuscule compared to those that were being managed by partners. Well, how do you get the word out to customers when they're being managed by partners and not having that direct communication with Juniper? And how do you then give them Juniper resources to help them with those upgrades, because it's so important that they get to the latest software? And so that was a challenge that we had to think through. And in that one, we didn't use solely the direct email campaigns, right? We had a multi-threaded approach where we're going to the folks that manage those partners in Juniper, enabling them, going to the partners where they are. They have some communities and Slack channels and forums, and then making sure that every single person who touches partners is giving them the information, is collecting information from them, offering training to both partners and customers. And so partners are the original scale tool. And I think that customer success and digital customer success has only realized that over the last few years, where there's a major focus on enabling partners through customer success. I think, Cisco being one of them. So it's a mind shift change for sure from someone who comes from direct to customer success like myself.
I think that's a really good point, though. Like, there's B2C companies that maybe have it a little bit easier, where you're just talking to one single individual consumer. And then there's B2B, and then there's like partner-centric B2B that is like a whole layers of stakeholders that you got to be aware of and making sure that you're communicating to. Do you guys, out of curiosity, do you guys send comms? Like, do you use your digital campaigns to send out to partners as well, or is it more like going through the channel to then inform the end user?
We have some use cases that have targeted partners, and it's a focus in 2024 of Juniper's. We already have some use cases lined up to target partners and yeah, help get to our end customers through them and get the information out.
So I come from a background of more partner-centric B2B, but out of curiosity, do you guys, like for your partners, are you helping them drive success of their customers as well? Like, do you guys kind of spread the gospel, so to speak, so that they can drive their own sort of customer success across the customers that they're serving, and leveraging kind of some of the stuff that you guys are doing in a CS ops perspective?
Truthfully, we haven't gotten there yet fully because we want to get there long term. And so we've focused on specific problems to date when engaging partners where we know that they will be enthusiastic about using some of our campaigns as a jumping off point to have conversations with customers. End of support being one of them, because ultimately, if you get your customer to move to a newer software, newer hardware, that means money for the partners. But long term, the goal is we've been slowly building out and evolving these use cases to say this is what good looks like for direct to customer, and now we're trying to transplant it over to the partner space too for 2024.
That's so interesting. Like I think like, I was saying like there's simpler B2C models. But as you described it, like when you start looking at like you've got multiple customer segments, you've got probably partner segments, you've got all these different layers of stakeholders, like talk about what an amazing environment to just learn CS ops or figure out what's working, right? Like these trials and errors and things, because there's so many different angles and different, like, I don't know, the Rubik's Cube is very large and there's a lot of different ways that you can turn that Rubik's Cube. Matthew, you were from IBM, so I'm sure you were, and Splunk, so you were exposed to probably these large networks as well. It's such a different mindset, right? So hopefully, Sam, this is a great breeding ground to just learn the heck out of what happens or what could happen in these large environments.
It absolutely is, and you should see some of the filters on the campaigns we have. They are as long as my arm. Yeah, there's definitely, it's getting into the rabbit holes of who the messaging is going to, and then obviously that rabbit hole kind of splits in two, just right at the end when you think you have it all laid down. So, yeah, I kudos to our colleague that we work with, who is a Totango administrator, because as Jackie said, we throw everything at them, and they're able to pull the rabbit out of the hat at the end of it, and we end up with those campaigns that do all the things. So I'm learning a lot. I feel very privileged to be working with people like them, and people like Jackie as well that have so much knowledge. It's a great environment to be in.
And to build on what Sam was saying, I think one other important aspect of learning as a CS ops team is the dependency on cross-functional teams. Because we are a small, agile team, we don't have that knowledge in all of these niche subjects. And so when we're presented with a business problem to solve, we do rely on looping in teams that are the subject matter experts, because there are, as you say, so many different angles, which Sam and I are not going to think through. And we need to have that knowledge in the room to help us think through these filters, through these different scenarios. And that also helps, long term, not only with the outcomes of the campaign, but also with internal awareness and buy-in throughout the org for what we're doing, what our small team is doing.
That cross-functional play always, sometimes it feels like it's going to slow you down, but when you don't do it, then you really do get slowed down, because you've missed, you've overlooked, you've failed to consider a change. So I love that piece of advice.
Oh, we've learned that the hard way several times.
As we wind down this conversation, which I've really enjoyed, by the way, and maybe I'll be an honorary Canadian today here as the lone U.S. representative in the call today. But what would you tell folks who are entering the field or who are thinking about entering the field? What would you encourage them with?
I personally, I feel like there's a lot of noise. If you go on LinkedIn and you just look at like the customer success hashtags, there's different opinions. There's so many different things, and it's difficult to know what's right and what works for you and your organization if you are starting your career in this field. So I think finding a couple of people that you can get opinions from is definitely worthwhile. and taking the time to formulate your own thoughts around it, I think, is super, super important, because there's a lot of different ways to do things, and we can learn from all these places. I don't think any of them should be, you should turn your nose up at any of them, is what I'm trying to say. But I think just finding what works for you, what works for your organization, it can be quite niche and can be quite specific. So absorb the information. If you're a person who can read all these different things, go for it. But take the time to think what's actually pivotal to me and my organization, and how can I help my customer base be better? How can I use this information? Because you can, at Juniper, we could implement 100 different things a day, and one of them is a good idea. You know, we take the time to learn and think, what could we possibly change? We don't change everything, we change things that we need to. And I think having that approach from the start, when you're learning the new skills and the processes and everything and all the acronyms that are in our industry, it is a really helpful skill.
I'll build on what you're saying, Sam, about all of the noise. And I think that the best way to start, if you want to do something in CS Ops, and maybe you are a CSM who wants to make the transition to CS Ops, and you're trying to make the case internally that you need a CS Ops team, is to start small and find one thing that you want to make better. And so the example is that how I originally started with CS Ops is we had a new order system, and we wanted to send out a welcome email with the resources that someone would need in order to get their to start using their telecommunications product. And so I just found an example of an email I liked for a welcome email, and then worked with we had a user experience team, and then got something out there. And so start small with one problem that you want to solve, test it out, and then once you've proven that it can make a difference, go from there and build out.
I like that. And I think there's like a theme here in what you guys have described, even at Juniper Networks, right? Like, starting small and just figuring out, how can you drive impact small and not think about the whole world, right? Like that's like maybe too much to think about and too hard to kind of solve for. But if you can deliver value in a small way and then expand from there. And Jackie, I'm sure, it was one welcome email, and then it was maybe a different email or some other thing from there. But that, starting small, finding some mentors in the space, and maybe just having like more solid conversations than just chewing through all the noise. I look back at my career, I think that's probably part and parcel of how I was core to kind of my DNA, my upbringing as well in the space. So I can't echo more than what you guys have said. It's just truly helpful. So thank you so much for sharing those insights and joining us today. This is a little bit new for us. We haven't interviewed two people all at once, or part of a team at once. So it was great to have you both on to share your stories and to share what's happening at Juniper Networks and how you guys are tackling the problems of your world. And so really grateful to have you.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks so much for having us. This was a lot of fun. Always enjoy having conversations with you.
Yeah, great to meet you both, Sam, Jackie. Thanks for being with us.